Hello YouTube, today I'll be covering a topic, the topic of exponents, right? So let's start. So exponents, right? Okay, so exponents are basically a multiple of the number itself. So, say if you have 2 to the 2, right? So that will mean you're multiplying 2 by itself, right? And you get 4, right? And so if you have 3 to the 3, right? Well, that's 3 times 3 times 3, which is 9 times 3 is 27, right? So it basically means that, like, how many times you're multiplying your base number by itself, right? So this is your base number, right? So how many times you're multiplying your base by itself. And there are some rules with it, right? So say if you had that, then yeah, that's what their rules, right? Their rules, right? 1, multiplying you add exp, right? Exponents. So say an example of 2 to the 4 multiplied by 2 to the 7, right? And that will give me 2 to the 11, right? Something to take in notice, the bases have to be the same, right? These bases have to be the same in order for them to add or subtract or anything, right? So these bases have to be the same in order for you to add. And yeah, and when you divide, right? Divide, you subtract, right? So say if you had 3 over 3, right, and then you have 8 and you have 2, right? So now it'll be 3 to the 6, right? So you see how I subtracted this number from that, so it's 8, take away 2, you get 6, right? And that'll be 4 plus 7 equals 11, right? And now, say if you had a power of itself, so say if you had 3 exponents, right? What I mean by exponents is, like, say if you had 2 to the 3 bracket 4, right? So this exponent applies to that, right? So this bracket. So what would you do then? You would just multiply it. So you take the coefficient within the bracket, the exponent within the bracket, and you multiply with the exponent outside the bracket, right? So what's 4 times 3? 4 times 3 is 12, right? So it's gonna be 2 to the 12, right? And that's what it is. And say if you have, yeah, these are all your rules for adding, subtracting, and multiplying, right? And there, right? These are your rules, right? You exponents, multiply, right? That's what you do, multiply. But say if you have, say, 100 to the 0, right? Exponent to the 0. What's your answer? Well, if anything is powered to the 0, your answer will be 0. And that's always, right? Like, if you have 99 to 0, anything to the 0 is gonna, anything to the 0, my bad, it's gonna be 1. Anything, right? So it's gonna be 18 to the 1 is gonna, 18 to the 0 is gonna be 1, right? So any power to the 0 will equal to 1. It can never ever equal to 0, right? If you have any exponents, right? If you have 2 to the 0, will not equal to 0, always equal to 1, right? But then say if you have, say, 2 negative 4 to the exponent of that, right? So now you're dealing with a negative number to the, yeah, now you're dealing with a negative number. And to deal with these numbers, you have to do a reciprocal of this, right? So then 2 to the negative 4 will become 1 over 2 to the 4, right? The 4 does apply to this too, right? But then what's 1 to the 4? It's well, 1, right? Because 1 times 1 times 1 times 1, well, that's 1, right? But then this will change to a positive, right? And what's positive 2 to the 4? Well, 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. Well, that's 4, 16, and then 4, right? 8, and then 4, 8, 16, right? So it's gonna be 1 over 16, right? Yeah, it's gonna be 1 over 16 to the answer to that, right? And say if you had to graph one of these, right? Say if you had to graph one, say if you had to graph this one, negative 4, right? So let's go up to 3's. 1, 1, 2, 3, right? And then our maximum value would be, well, it's gonna be 8. So it's gonna be 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 7, and then it's an 8 is here, right? So then, what's 2 to the 0? Well, 2 to the 0 is, well, 1, right? Because we discussed, let's do it in another color, right? So what's 2 to the 0? 2 to the 0 is 1, right? What's 2 to the negative 1? Well, 2 to the negative 1 is basically, well, if 2 is to the negative 1, right, that's basically 1 over 2. That's what it is, right? So it's half. So 1 is going to be half, right? And what's 2 to the negative 2, right? 2 to the negative 2, that's basically 1 over 4, right? Because, well, 1 over 2 to the 2, right, will equal to 1 to the 4, right? And that's what we got, 1 to the 4. 1/4 of a square is right there, right? And it keeps on going down. So what's 1 to the 2? Well, it's going to be 2, right? That's going to be 4, and that 3 is going to be 8, right? Notice it's a curve, right? So it's after it hits the 1 point, it just starts curving up, right? Like it curves up and it curves up fast, right? After the 0 point, so it should look like something. Whoops, should look like, okay, I'm gonna try to be steady here. Whoops, something like that, right? Something like that. And you have an asymptote here, right? Your asymptote equals, well, it's gonna be 0, right? Because no matter what, because you can never have a 0, right? Even 2 to the 0 is equal 1, right? And 2 to the negative, well, it will equal to a fraction, right? So if you have, say if you have just, you can have the smallest fraction, right? You can have 2 to the negative 1000, right? And that will equal to 1 over 2 to the 1000, basically, right? And that, yeah, and that will equal to 2 to the 1000, but it will never ever reach 0. And yep, and that's exponents for you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you later.